Having just gotten back from a early screening of Dream Scenario, the latest movie starring Nicolas Cage, I was excited going into this one. I thought this looked absolutely fantastic, but does it live up to that expectation, or at least what is built in the trailer that got me really excited? Well, stick around and you'll find out in this spoiler-free review. Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to the channel and thank you so much for taking your own time out to check out this spoiler-free review as we talk about Dream Scenario. Directed by Kristoffer Borgli and starring Nicolas Cage, Julianne Nicholson, Tim Meadows and Michael Cera, the story focuses on Paul Matthews, who is an everyday man. He goes to work, he's got a family, he's providing for his family. However, his world is about to turn upside down when he learns that millions of people are suddenly dreaming about him. Do you want access to early videos you won't ever see here onto the channel? Well, click the link down below in the description box today and join my Patreon with memberships only starting from £1 per month, and it costs less than one coffee per day. And I'd also like to give a quick thank you to all my awesome patrons who help to really support the channel and who are also reaping all these benefits, so join them today. And I then found out after this movie finished, believe it or not, that this was also produced by Aster. Not the biggest fan of Aster at all. So what can I say about this movie after I finished watching it and kind of fresh out of the cinema thoughts? Well, I will say this. For the first 2.5 acts, this movie really sold me. I was absolutely on board. But unfortunately, the third act with the ending let this movie down big time. So before we go into that and a little bit more detail, let me talk a little bit about the positives. Firstly, I think it's a given at this point you're going to expect a really great Nicolas Cage performance, and he absolutely gives a great performance as Paul Matthews, especially in the dream sequences. I know a lot of them are kind of spoiled in the trailer, I will say, but there is definitely some here that maybe aren't in the trailer or expanded in the trailer and actually lead to some really hilarious moments, which we'll get into very shortly. But Nicolas Cage does a great job as playing this character of Paul Matthews, who's like an everyday man, a character that you can root for, a character that you can sympathise for, as millions of people start to dream about him, and he's wondering, well, how the hell is this happening? He's just like this professor and he's just getting on with everyday life. He's kind of, a quiet person. He doesn't really stand up for himself and he doesn't really have that confidence to stand up for himself. But in his dreams, people are picturing him in different ways at times. And that's all I'll say without touching on those spoilers. At times here, as I mentioned and alluded to before, the comedy is really good. I actually found myself really laughing out loud. So did some of the other audience members tonight in my cinema screening, and they were having a good time at those comedic moments because there's generally some really funny stuff here and moments I was like, wow, that was kind of fresh. It was kind of innovative. It was moments I did not expect to be really funny, or they kind of pulled the rug under my feet, and I thought, wow, that was so cleverly done. That definitely helps towards the acting here, which I think everyone gives a good performance, whether they're in here a lot of the time or whether they're just kind of a brief cameo. I would definitely say Michael Cera, for example, is a brief cameo, and Tim Meadows probably along the same route. I think with the movie's casting overall as well, Julianne Nicholson, who plays the wife of Paul Meadows, I think she does a good job for what she's given. She's not really given a lot, or some of her story seems a little bit vague and it could have been expanded upon, but let's say for what she's given, she's actually not too bad. Of course, this being an A24 movie, it's going to look good. The cinematography, of course, is going to look stunning, and that is absolutely the case here, whether it's the on-set location, whether it is just the nature shots that we have here, which of course just helps towards our character of Paul Meadows and what he studies in with his field, and of course his past experiences, which is also alluded to earlier in stories with a couple of characters that he does interact with. Going into the negatives is mainly just one, and I kind of said at the intro of this movie review, is The first kind of 2.25 acts, I was sold. I was glued to the screen. I was like wondering, right, what are they going to do with this story? The humour had me absolutely dying with laughing, along with a lot of other people, and I was just having a great time at the cinema. But unfortunately, the last 10-15 minutes feels as if it is, before that, was like an original, fresh idea with, you know, great pacing. But then that last 10-15 minutes feels as if it's kind of very rushed, and also a very similar but different idea, to the point where it just feels not fully fleshed out and not really a satisfying ending, which was a huge shame, especially with how much work and effort was put into the rest of the story. I just really wish that last kind of 10-15 minutes really landed home, and I'll be honest with you guys, if it did that, I would probably be giving this movie, like, in my top 10 list of the year, probably really high up, because I was that on board and like that much really invested here. As of right now, in terms of a score, I'm going to give Dream Scenario a 3 out of 5. So have you seen Dream Scenario? Is it a one you're going to check out? Or if you have seen it, do you agree with me or do you disagree? Well, let's have a nice, healthy, civil conversation down below in the comment section, and let's continue the discussion down there. Hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, certainly give it a thumbs up. Certainly subscribe to the channel by clicking the red button down below. And until the next time, I see you guys, I'll be seeing you later.